morning, glory to you judge people. We are here today. I'm Stephanie Pointer, and we are going to be talking with candidate for Florida House, Ashley Brundage. She's going to talk to us about what she'd like to do if she can get to Tallahassee. We'd be really excited to see her get there. So let's go ahead and bring Ashley on.
Hey everyone.
So good morning or good afternoon. We used to do this in the morning, and I still haven't gotten past the good morning part. Good afternoon. So we always like to start folks out with talking to us about the basic Ashley, where you came from, what you do, where you got to the place you're at today, and the reason why we're interviewing you.
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, right? Because somebody could be watching a replay on social media, which is really fun. I'm Ashley Brundage. I am a lifelong resident in Tampa. I've lived here all 45 of my years on this earth. I've lived in every part of the Tampa Bay area, all around Hillsborough County, and I'm a mom. I have two teenagers who one goes to the University of South Florida, and my other one is a senior on special assignment at Hillsborough High School for the 3DE program, learning how to be a welder. And so this year, I used to be an executive at PNC Bank, and I'm excited to chat a little bit about my experience. I started there as a homeless part-time bank teller, and I worked my way up. I was a registered investment advisor, so I understand finance. I understand mitigating risk, which is a big reason why our insurance is out of control. And I also understand how to deploy resources to communities that need resources, because I used to teach financial literacy programs. And then I built an entire diversity, equity, and inclusion program for 60,000 employees that help them all learn and grow and sell more goods to more people and generate more revenue for a corporation. And then the last 2.5 years, I've been my own small business owner, entrepreneur. I run a leadership training and consulting company where I actually physically and emotionally and connect with people. And I am an actual educator. I get paid to show up and talk to people and share about my best-selling award-winning book called Empowering Differences. And I share the leadership model. I share my resources. Some of my clients are really cool. I've done business with the Joe Biden White House. I also have Republican Sheriff Chad Chronister as one of my clients. And I happen to have won an award for my work from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So I've done a lot of stuff, and I got asked, after thinking about moving away from the Tampa Bay area earlier this year, I got asked by lots of people and lots of organizations, Equality Florida being one, Ruthless being two, to run for this state house seat, District 65, which encompasses South Tampa, downtown Tampa, and then Northwest Hillsborough County along the waterfront, heading up to parts of Town and Country, depending upon where you are, because it's kind of tricky how the borders are drawn kind of strangely. And then it goes all the way out to West Chase in Northwest Hillsborough County. I got asked to run for this seat. I didn't just wake up one day and decide, I think I should run for office. Let me file and let me see what happens. I got asked and recruited because lots of Democratic organizations were really concerned about this seat being a really good opportunity to flip a seat from someone who hasn't really done a lot of stuff and has actually pissed off a lot of people in Tampa. And so I'm pretty excited about the election on Tuesday, and I'm glad to be with you and answer any questions about all my vast experience and all of the things going on in this world.
Well, to help the folks who don't know and don't understand, and one of the things that we really try to do at Florida Judge is to like make it as basic as possible. And so when people start talking about districts, they get really they glaze over and not real sure. So who's currently in that seat? Not that we
Yes.
want to advertise for it, but it makes people understand.
So Karen Gonzalez Pittman is the state rep in District 65, and she's a one-term Republican, and we plan on making her a one-term state legislator.
Okay. What are your primary goals? If say you're elected tomorrow, what would be your top 3 things that you would want to get done while you were there?
Yeah. So number one is to address the actual insurance crisis that we have going on in Florida. This is a trickle down item that affects everybody, whether you own a home or whether you rent, like in my case, where I'm having to rent because of my moving situation. It's been in flux since I celebrated divorce 2 years ago, personally. But in thinking about this world, right, like the cost of what it costs to actually operate there. I have friends who are literally in a situation where they're selling their house because they live on a fixed income, and flood insurance and property insurance are through the roof. So I'm actually drafting a bill right now called the Insurance Accountability Act. It's 3 words, and there's 3 parts to addressing a crisis. Part 1 is, of course, yes, holding the insurance companies accountable, because right now, if you look at the financial commitment from the Republican Party and see exactly who's getting the money on the transparent website that tells you exactly what candidate is accepting money from what company, you'll see where the insurance companies are giving money towards. They're not giving them to Democrats. Okay.
Right.
Okay. This is a very transparent. That's an apolitical statement. It's true. It's factual evidence.
I've done the research. I agree.
Okay. So go ahead and see that. You'll see. And of course, this is the thing, is that insurance companies don't want to be held accountable by legislators because they know that the Republicans have a supermajority, so they don't have to actually pass any bills with teeth. Well, This is why it's so important to flip this seat, because if we flip this seat and 4 others, then we can actually hold them accountable to a degree. Obviously, companies also, having been someone literally that's been in the discussion in the budget room at a really big financial organization, I know how those conversations work, and I know how those companies think and operate. So I can use my vast experience and relations, because when I had my interview with the Florida Chamber of Commerce, I sat in that room with 110 of the major corporations in Florida, many of them insurance companies. And like the one person that one of the companies, like she knew who I was, and she was like, she saw me and she waved and she smiled at me. And I'm like, wow, wait till she gets to know what my platform is about. She might not be smiling as much in this sense, but we really have to hold them accountable. And if they can't offer competitive pricing for home, then why can't they then offer competitive pricing across the other suites potentially? And this is something that is very easy to do. The second part, though, is the part that really makes it very easy for the insurance company to say, wait a minute, this makes sense. We can actually offer competitive pricing because Ashley wants to give us a way to mitigate our risk. And I said in my introduction that I was a registered investment advisor. So risk mitigation is actually in my POV. It's something I actually have a work experience doing. It's so important to elect legislators that have actual, real lived experience doing the work that you want them to do. That's why this world is so important. And so the person who is currently the legislator that I'm going to be running against in the general election, she's the chief operating officer for her husband's vein clinic. Okay. Now, you can choose whatever type of version of the word vein that you want to use. Okay. All right. But just know that he runs that company ultimately. And this is why it's so important to understand that I've been in a position where I've negotiated with insurance companies. As an entrepreneur, I do business with 5 insurance companies. Now, after I get elected or during the election, I might not have any more insurance companies as clients of mine, but so be it. It's worth it. It's worth it to protect the residents of Tampa, which I've been my whole entire life. So risk mitigation is that second piece. And how we can do that is very simple, because right now the Florida legislative body says that when they're writing insurance policies, that they can only write them just in the state of Florida. So those insurance companies create a shell corporation, and then it drives the cost way up through the roof for people in Florida. But if we create legislation that allows them to offshoot some of the risk to other geographical areas around the country, where maybe the risk isn't as bad in certain times of year, where we actually are less risky in December, January, February, March, April, May, right? These are all months where Florida is not as risky as
right. But that's when you have flooding up north, and you have tornadoes and
so
whatnot.
A larger field, just like if you had only one stock in your investment portfolio, if that stock does crappy during hurricane season, your investment portfolio is going to suck. But
do other states allow that?
They can, yes. And there's a national pool surrounding some of the companies, that some of the states that allow to offshoot the risk. But it's all about how the state legislators operate and what they allow and what they don't allow. Right now, they don't allow the insurance companies to offshoot the risk, which is really, 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 really silly.
Yeah.
And then the third part of this act, because this is a complicated problem that requires a complicated solution. The third part of this is that, and really when you think about it, and you know this as much as I do, you drive down the street, right? You see the billboard. You know what billboard I'm talking about. Is somebody talking about size.
Right.
Somebody talking about size matters. Somebody's talking about how much money they've gotten for somebody. So as a consumer, if you have a claim, you go to contact the insurance company, they push you off, right? And then you have to, and then eventually you have to call someone, right? This is part 3. You have to call that lawyer typically. Right. The lawyer gets involved. And then guess who's ultimately making the money on this transaction?
They are.
They're making the money. So if they're not part of the conversation, then they can't be part of the solution. They're part of the problem. And this is exactly why insurance is out of control, because we're not having a complicated solution to a complicated problem. So the legal industry has to be at this table for this discussion, because what ends up happening is the $20 billion that so-and-so got from a law firm, right? That $20 billion, they got that from the insurance company, yes. But guess who pays that $20 billion?
That's right, we did.
Yeah, that's a pass through, and it's always passed through to whoever is in the lowest economic position of all the people in society, in that city, in that county, in that zip code. It's always the lowest economic person.
Okay, I have a question. Question. So 2 things. I've been seeing recently, as probably many people who regularly read the news, that there's headlines where they're saying, and I've heard this, that insurance rates are stabilizing. Experts say this was in May 24th. This was by WTSP. They're saying, experts say Florida homeowners insurance rates are stable, and here's why. So, but this isn't the only one. There's others. I'm going to screenshot that. So there's that. For those of you who are listening, you might want to go out and do some research. I know, because I was the president of a homeowners association for 10 years, and the owners were out. They probably wanted to lynch me because they thought that I had control about having to raise along with the other board members, make a decision about increasing dues, because we went from paying for the amount of units that are there from 121,000 to 370 right overnight. That's a lot, but I think that it is stabilizing. I'm kind of seeing that. That's one question. The other question is, as you've said, you're going to present legislation. If you win, you're in 2 years, and for a total of 4, you can run 3 other terms for a total of 8. What if the legislature's composure remains the same? Is it realistic to believe that the good things that you think you're gonna propose and want to pass, are you going to be able to do that?
Yeah. So first things first. In July, insurance rates actually went up 14% from Citizens. It was a 14% rate hike in July. That's well documented. And we actually sent out an entire press release about that from our campaign headquarters. The second piece of this is what can one legislator accomplish under the current format? If I'm elected and the House supermajority exists for the Republican Party, I can't do nothing. I mean, let's just be honest. I'm not gonna sugarcoat crap for anybody. So I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm going to be able to use my voice, and I'm going to use my 30 seconds of talk time on every single bill, and I'm going to call out hypocrisy at its finest, and I'm going to set up the daily hypocrisy update for everyone so that they can understand exactly where the money is going and who's financially benefiting from a lot of BS that's happening in Tallahassee. We're not forcing the Republican Party to have to do any work. I can tell you, because I'm not a lifelong Democrat, and I'm proud to run and not be a lifelong Democrat. Having been a Republican for 32 years, that's one of my number one selling points and why someone should think about electing me, because I am a fiscally conservative Democrat. I'm socially liberal because I don't want the government in making decisions about anybody's lives. Like, let's focus on the real issues. Okay.
What you just said is right on. I had a conversation with someone we were talking about his selection, and I'm not going to say because I wanted us to be more united than divided. But he was saying, "Look, I'm about the policy, even though I don't agree with the person, but it's about the policy for me." And I sort of kind of agree with that, you know. I draw lines sometimes because sometimes people, it's a little bit of mostly possibly, but it's the person and the character for me too. What you just said is true, but again, you know, I feel bad because you're gonna go in there as a Dem and you're gonna. I think a better solution would be, and it would have to be the people that do that, bust up that supermajority. They've been ruling the legislature for so long. I would prefer there to be half and half, like some, you know.
It's really possible, actually. I mean, my seat is in the top 7 of all the seats that they think are targets to flip, and that's why former Ambassador Bobby Menzel and former CFO Alex Sink have been supporting my campaign, and their Florida Leadership Council is supporting my campaign. They've identified the 10 seats that they think have the greatest likelihood of being flipped. This is one of them. So it's not a secret to realize, and the Republican Party is scared. This is why they've already invested a full-time staff member for Karen Gonzalez-Pittman. $4,000 a month commitment from the state Republican Party, which is transparent. You can see it's right on her campaign filing report. Okay, so you know that she's getting that support because they're scared about her seat. They're scared about her seat in this.
Well, if you win, I'm gonna follow you, because based on what you've already stated about your vast experience, like especially in this insurance issue, which, you know, we got to deal with this every year with the hurricanes, and anything good thing that you can do, I want to promote. You know.
So I do have 2 other reasons why I'm running.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Ready. So the second piece, and I was kind of pivoting there slightly, right, with getting the government out of making decisions about people and their lives.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yes.
Get out of my bedroom.
Yeah, get out of the bedroom, get out of my doctor's office, get out of my kids' lives. Let me, as the parent, what happened to the Republican Party being the parental rights party? I don't understand. I really don't get it, because you know what? The moment that the teacher goes up and starts talking about Moms for Liberty and saying, "Hey, I don't want your teacher telling the parent what the parent should be doing to their kid," I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we focusing on? So Roost List Florida is the organization that really, really, really convinced me to run. And so Christina Diamond and Cassidy Whitaker were calling me and they're like, "You have to run, Ashley." And it was like really intense. And they knew that I was pro-choice. And so they recruited me to run. They asked me to do this. And I said, "Am I going to have your support?" I showed up into a meeting with them. And then there was all this branding and marketing, like the sign behind me. This was on a PowerPoint deck with my picture and a whole website that was already built, ready to get put on a domain. And I'm like, oh my God. Y'all are really serious. Y'all really want to run me? And they were like, yes. I said, you never endorsed a woman like me before. Are you sure that you want to do that? Do you want to go down this road? And they were like, well, here's the deal. There's an LGBT candidate. We really want there to be more LGBT candidates in the state house. So, but this person, and no offense, he's a really nice guy. He just hasn't really done a lot of the stuff necessary, right? I mean, he claims to be a signature gatherer and an organizer, but yet had to pay the qualification check just like I did. And I don't understand that. Okay. So, and they said, hey, and I didn't want to run against someone in a primary and deploy resources. And they said, hey, we really need someone that's going to fundraise enough money to take on Karen, because that's going to be expensive. And so I had their blessing, I had their support, and then I entered the race. And so I'm going to be running to get the government out of making decisions about people and their lives, which includes their bodies, but also includes their opportunity to access recreational marijuana if that's what they want, because we know that can generate a crap ton of money. I mean, there's a lot of different estimates as to how much that is. But recreational marijuana, yes on 3, and I'm of course yes on 4. Those two things are so quintessentially important to our having a chance to win in this race in November.
I want to jump in real quickly if I could on that. The recreational, I read something today, but first I wanted to say good afternoon to Candy Lowe and thank you for tuning in. So thank you, Candy. It's always good to see you.
Yes.
And following our broadcast. So the recreation, I just read I'm pretty sure he's Republican, wanting to pass legislation to, if recreational marijuana does pass, to make it prohibited in public places to consume marijuana. And you know what? I'm kind of in favor for that. I think I want it to pass. I don't think people should go to jail or be criminalized for marijuana usage. Okay. But my word, every time I'm driving around, going around, there's seems to be the smell, aroma of marijuana all up in the air. And I don't know, it's that kind of, what do you think?
I think it's where you're hanging out, because I never smell
it. No, it's not. It's in the street while I'm driving. Okay.
I just Googled it because I'm curious, because we have a house in Michigan and recreational marijuana is legal there. And let me tell you something, it's no joke. You go in there, you have to give them your driver's license. You have to register to purchase anything. One of my very good friends is a medical professional, and I was like, I'll buy it, because she didn't want her name on as somebody who purchased it. But it said the state of Michigan collected $290 million in taxes off of marijuana sales. And let me tell you something, those places look empty. I mean, there's 3 or 4 of them in the little town
and that's just here. 1 year.
Yeah.
And we have a lot more people that live in Michigan. It's like almost twice the amount of population. So it's actually probably an estimated $500 to $600 million minimum in the first year. It could be even more than that.
The tax thing alone does it for me. But somebody who taught kids for years and years and years, and even 10 years ago, I would tell my kids, I'm like, look, the problem with you smoking weed is that the people who are bringing the weed are more likely to be doing other things that are illegal as well. And that's where you end up smoking weed, doing a little drinking, and then you get introduced to something else while you're not in your right mind. And that's where the problems come in. That bridge, what do you call it? Bridge drug?
Gateway.
Not to mention that now you have the state regulating the quality of what's being
But
dispensed.
People are getting it in Florida. Okay. I go and I travel around the country, around the world, and I buy the marijuana wherever it's able to be sold. Okay. And then people bring it in the state pretty easily, or they get it black market.
Right.
So it's already happening. People are buying it everywhere. We're just not, Florida's just not getting the revenue from it.
Or it's not being regulated so that people get like quality marijuana.
Yeah.
And that's something that's possibly, how should I say, mixed with something else.
Yeah.
It could be, you could get a batch of bad weed in the black market. So that's another reason. And then don't incarcerate people for that.
Yeah.
Because alcohol's worse, way worse. There's every year there are deaths through alcohol, but I've not yet seen a documented death from marijuana.
I don't think so either.
So
Good
the
point,
third
Amy.
final piece. Are we
Okay,
ready?
third piece.
Third final piece.
I think that is all three, right?
No. That was getting the government out of making
Okay.
decisions about people and their lives.
Yes, exactly. Right.
That was the second piece, which is a catch-all. Okay.
Yes.
And then the third piece is economic empowerment for small businesses, because I own a small business. And let me tell you a little bit about my work in this space, because it's actually well documented. Okay. I'm the advocate that got veteran-owned businesses and disability-owned businesses and LGBTQ-owned businesses added to the city of Tampa's procurement opportunities alongside women and minorities back in 2019. I brought the 2019 International Business and Leadership Conference for the LGBTQIA plus community. I brought that to downtown Tampa. It was a $13 million economic impact for the city and the businesses in downtown. We sold out the entire Embassy Suites Hotel and the Water Street Marriott in the district. I sold out both those hotels. I collected zero commission. And for my thank you, right above my shoulder over here, I have a key to the city of Tampa. Okay. So there's a reason that I've been an advocate and generating business for our community for years. I also ran a chamber of commerce for 5.5 years here in the Tampa Bay area. And so I ran a chamber of commerce that actually, when I started running this chamber of commerce, they had 40 members and negative $500 in the bank account. I had to personally write a check to bring the account to zero, and then started selling memberships for the chamber of commerce so it could survive. And now this chamber of commerce has 3 staff members, and they have a scholarship foundation for youth in the community here. The Scholarship Foundation last month got their largest grant ever, $49,000 grant from the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. The Scholarship Foundation that I created, okay, for youth in the community through business advocacy work. And so I've done a lot of advocacy work for small businesses. I also built an economic empowerment program for entrepreneurs in Washington, D.C. That grew entrepreneurship by more than 400%. I've also consulted for 5 other countries to build economic empowerment programs for entrepreneurs. So I know a lot about entrepreneurship and helping business owners succeed. I actually also used to do small business loans when I was a banker at PNC Bank in Tampa, Florida. So literally all of these things are a part of my work experience. And this is why I say I have a vast experience that'll be really helpful as a state legislator, because most of the time the state legislators are bought and sold by so many other issues and things. And they don't always have the work experience or so vast across different business types, different industries. And so I'm super excited to bring this level of experience to represent Tampa in every way possible. So
I'm very excited about that. I think it's interesting when you come from one area and you branch out and you learn about other industries, not just, you're not running in a trough. You're not running around with blinders on. And I think that's one of the reasons why I stay in the middle of the city of Tampa so much, because I like being able to move from transportation to budgets to, you name it, housing and all those areas. And I think that it's a very interesting concept that you've got, and you brought some insurance information to light that, Haiti will be the first one to tell you that I've been harping on this insurance stuff for a while because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you coming today, and it's been very, very informative. And I'm looking up and going, oh my gosh, we're running out of time. So do you have any final statements that you'd like to make before we wrap it up for today?
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Go ahead.
Of course, just like any other politician, she doesn't have a problem talking. But I also can back it up with what I've done, and I think that this is really important. So obviously, the voters, if you have not yet voted, early voting is still happening right now. So that's Saturday and Sunday. You can do that at any early voting poll place around the city of Tampa. There's a lot of them to choose from. And then election, there will no early voting on Monday. Election day will be Tuesday, August 20th. There are two
Only
choices.
at your polling place.
Yes,
Only at your polling place on Tuesday.
At your polling place. There are only two choices for House District 65 currently. The winner of the Democratic primary will go on to face Karen Gonzalez Pittman. And I think it's really important that you recognize that there are two choices here. Nothing against my opponent. Like I said, he's a nice guy, but we need somebody that's going to be tough as nails. We need somebody that's going to be able to have the resources, the endorsements, the partnership, the volunteers. We have a lot of volunteers. We have over 40 different volunteers who are knocking on doors. We're knocking on hundreds of doors every weekend. So that's literally the difference. Okay. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows that that's the choice. It's you have me, and I'm literally telling you, I have the experience, a lot of experience to be a legislator. I built out a platform. I mean, I'm a mom, so I know the whole school issues that are going on with school board. I'm watching all of that because it affects me. Okay. I'm part of the lowest position in the financial economic platform of our society right now because I'm still paying for another house in another Tampa community every month. And so my living situation is completely flux and it's really crappy and whatnot. And I'm surviving like paycheck to paycheck, like many people in the city. Hold on, I can't hear you. What did you say?
And yet you're running for a $30,000 a year job.
Yes, I'm doing that not because I need the money, not because I want not because I want to get paid 29 and change, because I run my own company. I make my own hours so I can augment in with the business that I do, and selling books. And we have other really cool stuff. We have empowerment conversation cards. We do a lot of fun stuff with teams. I have a technology where we measure how empowered people are. But yeah, that's what I get to do. And yes, my website is down there. You all see it, ashleybrundage.com. You can learn about my positions. If anybody wants to follow me on any of the social medias, it's Ashley T. Brundage is my personal pages. I have a lot of followers. And so, yes, and you can send me a message. My campaign social media is Brundage for Florida. And if you do send me a direct message, once a week at least, I look at all of those and I will reply.
Is it Brundage for the spelled out or the number?
Spelled out, FOR. Yeah.
All right. So let me go ahead and
Brundage for FL is the social handles for the campaign. Yes.
So I'm gonna go ahead and publish that, brundageforflorida.com. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, well then let's. All right. So
yes, you got ashleybrundage.com. That was the website you were on just a moment ago. That's our website. And then for social media, it's Brundage for FL.
So just to put that out in the media, in the search box.
Yeah. In case people want to follow us on social media, but you can get there from our website as well.
Okay, very well, great. Okay, so I already posted. Disregard that. So I'm sorry. Yes. AshleyBrundage.com. Go there, and that'll lead you to wherever else you.
100%. Yes.
Okay, great.
Well,
beautiful.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming on. We do appreciate it.
Yes, my pleasure.
Everyone have a great rest of your Saturday. We're going to be back. We're going to be back in a couple of minutes. We're going to be chatting with Elizabeth Stress, who's running for Hillsborough County State Attorney.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Stephanie.